Hey, moneymakers, I'm Kalila Reynolds. Welcome to another episode of Taking Stock Live. We're bringing you all the latest business news and telling you how it will affect you and your money. Say hello to our new plant. Well, it's not new, but it's new to you, making its debut on the Taking Stock set. So tonight we are bringing to you a bit of innovation to the Jamaican market. MYNE Lend is combining micro lending and tap to pay solutions inside a digital wallet. So how is this going to work? What exactly does it do? How do you use it? So many questions, and we're going to find out more in this evening's show. But first, let's take a look at what's coming up in tonight's show, followed by what's hot in business. And of course, I want to encourage you to let me know in the chat where you are joining us from this evening, what part of Jamaica or what part of the world. It might be morning where you are or midnight. Let me know in the comments. And come on, let's get this money.
On this episode of Taking Stock, Jamaica's fintech space just got a new player. MYNE Lend is a digital wallet that offers microlending and tap-to-pay solutions. How is this app different from the other players on the market? And how does the company plan to win over customers? MYNE Lend is a digital wallet that offers microlending and tap-to-pay solutions. MYNE Lend CEO Elson James joins us live to discuss. And the analysts weigh in on the latest market developments. Wisynco is now the 5th largest shareholder in Honey Bun. What does that mean for investors? We'll discuss.
Here's what's hot, brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
After trending within the Bank of Jamaica's target range for several months, inflation jumped to 6.5% in August. The target range is 4 to 6%. According to the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, supply shortages caused by Hurricane Beryl massively impacted the food category of the Consumer Price Index. Increased electricity bills, which caused major backlash from JPS customers, also contributed to the inflation spike. BOJ Governor Richard Biles had previously said he expected a temporary inflationary impact from Hurricane Beryl. However, the central bank forecasted that inflation would stay within its target range over the next 2 years. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has greenlit Indus Pharma's production of a drug used to test for heart disease. The approval allows Indus Pharma to manufacture a generic version of the drug, regadenoson. Generic medicines and brand name medicines share the same active ingredients, but other inactive ingredients that do not affect the safety or effectiveness of the medicine, like colors and flavorings, can be different. According to Indus Pharma CEO Guna Mupuri, the drug is being manufactured under contract by an unnamed company near Delhi in India. He also added that sales will initially be focused on the US market before branching out to Europe. Scotiabank says it's working to give Jamaicans the option of connecting their local bank cards to Apple Pay and Samsung Pay by next year. Currently, only customers with an overseas bank account can use Apple or Samsung Pay to make transactions. Scotia CEO Audrey Tugwell Henry said they are currently in the testing phase. She said that only when the deals are finalized, the apps will become available to the Scotia customers. They will roll out Apple Pay first and Samsung Pay will follow. Manufacturing giant Wisynco is now the 5th largest shareholder in Honey Bun. The company has reportedly purchased over 8 million shares in the company over the past several months, bringing its stake in Honey Bun to almost 2%. The news comes as Honey Bun says it plans to invest up to $100 million in its Swirls brand. The plan is to expand the Swirls from just one location in Halfway Tree to 5 stores.
What's hot, brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
Before your budget, I was literally flying by the seat of my pants. I did not know what a budget was, and ever since downloading that budget and actually applying it, I paid off my credit card, I paid off my tuition loan, and I bought my first pair of Tory birds.
Hey,
And it was in the budget.
Download my free budgeting template at buildyourbudgets.com.
Let's get this money.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Let me see who is joining us online tonight. We got Dwight hailing from Spanish Town. Kish is ready and waiting. Dwight again says he's tired of the bear market, needs to see some bull run now. Don't we all want to see it? Tired of the buying opportunity, Dwight? I hope you have everything bought up and ready for the gains. Sean is ready and waiting. Nanosense is watching from far, far away. Dr. Lithium is outside. Roger is in Philly. Raquel says good night to the money makers. Sean hailing up everybody across the world. JT is in Cayman Islands. Malik is checking in from Massachusetts, and Raquel reminding everyone to like up the video. Yes, click the like button, let them know. And Ryan is joining us from, normally I would say cool Mandeville, but Mandeville hot same way these days. It's starting to just get a little tops cooler, but geez, ooh, it is hot. And we have Dee Dana joining us from Goshen. All right, so it's time to talk about this new mobile app called MYNE LEND. Jamaica's fintech space is expanding. MYNE LEND is actually a digital wallet that combines microlending and tap-to-pay solutions. So here to tell us all about MYNE LEND are CEO Elson James, as well as General Manager and Vice President of Flow Jamaica, Stephen Price. Welcome, Elson. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you, Khalil. Thanks for having us.
Thanks,
All right, so before we get into the conversation, tell us a little bit about yourselves, starting with you, Elson, because you're new to the show, and you're probably new to the Jamaican public.
Probably, but not new to the show. So I'm a fan of you, and I've been following you on social media. So good to be on the show. So my name is Elson James. I hold a couple of hats within the JMMB world. So firstly, I am the CEO of JMMB Express Finance here in Trinidad and Tobago. That's the consumer finance or micro lending arm of JMMB. We started first here in Trinidad. I also hold the hat of the Financial Inclusion Group Financial Lead. So I am also in charge of GMMB's focus of financial inclusion across the region. And then finally, with this new joint venture, I hold the position of CEO for MYNE LEND, which we're here to speak about this evening.
And Stephen?
Okay, I'm Stephen Price. I am the Vice President and General Manager of Flow Jamaica, combined companies of Cable and Wireless Jamaica and Columbus Communications Jamaica. I've been in the industry about 22 years, bounced around a couple of telecoms companies. I'm in charge of just the delivery of the revenue and P&L for the Jamaica business. I'm a vice president that sits at the centralized company in terms of cable and wireless communications, looking over almost 20 markets right across the region. So it's a great opportunity, and we're happy to be here and happy to be a part of this venture.
So whose brainchild is this? Tell us the story of how MYNE LEND came to be.
I think it's from the perspective, Liberty Latin America, our parent company, really saw that, how do we get into the business of financial inclusion in terms of seeing what was happening across Latin America and the Caribbean. We looked for the areas of friction within the markets. Jamaica was, what we call the center of the Caribbean. Elson, don't beat me with that. but we decided that Jamaica was the first place that we wanted to test this on. We saw that there was friction between how ordinary citizens of the country, the unbanked, were able to access credit within the country. And I think that we said that this is a prime market that we could really address that friction with technology. And we came into this with a wonderful partner in the name of JMMB, as well as Visa. And we really said, okay, let's go for it. And MYNE LEND was born.
Okay, so how does it work? What does it do? Let's get into the details. Elson.
Sure. So just as you're saying, it is that joint venture between Flow, JMMB, and a fintech organization named MindHub. And for us, it's absolutely revolutionary. Not just revolutionary for Jamaica, but revolutionary, I think, for the Caribbean. So more or less, clients or potential clients out there will receive an invitation at this point in time from Flow, and using some of the tele data, we're able to review and make a credit decision for a micro loan. That micro loan is going to be put onto a digital wallet, into a digital wallet powered by Visa. And then clients can use that digital wallet to shop anywhere Visa is accepted. Tap and pay, cash out, all within the realm of 10 minutes. So again, really revolutionizing both the microcredit side as well as the way that you use the funds from that micro loan.
So it's both a digital wallet and a lending app?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So I can use it. Let's say I don't need a loan, but I do want to use a digital wallet. I can use it as just a digital wallet?
So at this point in time, no. So at this point in time, in the way that we're launching it, it is first a microcredit loan, and the funds from that is going to be used via the digital wallet. As we expand and we change the product, the use of the wallet will come independently later on. But as of now, it's a combination of both the microcredit loan as well as the use of the digital wallet.
So just to support Elson, Kalilo, I think what's important here is that we saw that there was challenges in the market in terms of the microcredit industry. I think we saw the challenges of high interest rates. We saw the challenges of denials of loans. We saw the fact that there was also those players within the market who weren't necessarily above board in terms of the loan shark kind of industries that were popping up there and there. We wanted to make sure that we created some disruption in the space in order to make sure that this product was available to every Jamaican out there. And using the proprietary credit scoring kind of mechanism, using the payment data, the loan data, all this data from our customers, we are able to really tap into a significant proportion of the population in terms of the unbanked, to really give them access to credit that they never had before, that they never get from the regular formal institutions, that they wouldn't get from some of the micro lending institutions. And as Elson said, we do this in less than 10 minutes. From your application, you can get up to $150,000. And believe me, we believe that it will go like gangbusters in the next couple of weeks.
All right, so you were describing, I think both of you kind of mentioned it briefly about how you are able to approve that loan so quickly. I believe you said that you use payment data for Flow. So if you're a Flow customer, that is part of the information that you're using to make a decision to approve or deny the loan. Is that how it's going to work?
So it's proprietary in terms of the kind of customer data that we've contributed to the platform. Now, what we've been doing over a number of years, we have certain products that we have operating in the space in terms of Flow Lend, which we are giving small micro loans, yes, for credit and services, but that has created a behavioral pattern for customers over a history of years. So we do have probably even better than some of the credit bureaus, a history of how customers react, how customers deal with micro loans over the history, how they pay their bills, how they respond to their payment patterns in terms of all of these things. So these have contributed to the data, and also how they interact with MYNE LEND moving forward will also inform the system as well as we move forward.
So you're looking at the payment history from Flow Lend and I assume
and regular bill payments patterns.
Yeah.
I assume it's postpaid customers from Flow. When you say bill payment, you mean people who use your network to pay their bills? As in JPS, NWC, that kind of thing?
So no.
Go ahead.
So it's a combination of, and again, that's for me the beauty of true financial inclusion. It's a combination of understanding and using the credit bureaus. So we will pull credit bureau data, and we will make that part of the credit decision. The other part of the credit decision is data from Flow, how you've paid your Flow bill, how you've used Flow Lend. So at this point in time, not using other services like JPS and so forth, but focused on the Flow client as they pay. And that's why we're starting off with the Flow client database. And that's the beauty of financial inclusion, right? Where what we have found traditionally is that if you didn't have credit history before that was found in the credit bureaus, the traditional lenders wouldn't lend. But similar to what you see in Africa, in Southeast Asia, where you're using non-traditional data based on patterns of payments outside of traditional loans to make credit decisions. So it's a combination of both to make a to give a credit score, and then based on that credit score, there's that initial loan. And then, of course, as you pay that initial loan, that information feeds back into the loop for further decisioning.
Okay, so you are going to be using data from the credit bureaus, because I'm here thinking you can correct me if I'm wrong, Stephen, but I assume the vast majority of Flow customers are prepaid, not postpaid, at least prepaid on the telephone side.
But I will tell you, there has been a significant amount of customers who have used the loan services that we have as a business in terms of for credit or for data, for packages, etc., and for payment. So that also contributes to the rich history of credit bureaus. And as Elson said, we still tap into the credit bureau network. And that has billing data like JPS, courts, all these other things that come in. What we've done now is put that all together to enrich it, to make sure that, for instance, we make the best decisions on the spot in no time at all. Using the proprietary scoring mechanism, which has a little bit of AI in there in terms of how we select customers and how we make those decisions. And you're ready and waiting, right? In a matter of 10 minutes, you can get a decision.
So Flow is providing the tech, MYNE is providing the platform, and is it that JMMB is the one that will be dispersing the loan?
But JMMB, go ahead, Elson, sorry.
Yeah, so JMMB does a couple of things. So it is a full joint venture. So of course, all players within the joint venture have ponied up and brought capital in. The entity MYNE Lend is the entity that will be disbursing the loan. What JMMB brings is its rich history of understanding and underwriting of credit. So that helps on the scoring side, as well as us being a regulated entity, along with Flow and Visa comes to bring that credibility that in many cases is lacking within this space, within this microfinance space. So it's a combination of JMMB as a shareholder, of course, injecting into MYNE Lend, and then some of that credit expertise from the lending side that we're helping to build the platform, both credit and collections.
Okay, we have a lot of questions from our viewers. Let's start taking some of those questions.
Sure.
Let's see. I think you answered this one. Simba wanted to know, wait, so MYNE Lend, it's kind of hard to say. MYNE Lend, people are going to confuse it with MyLend, is only a loan, or we can put money in my virtual wallet. So you already explained that it actually is a loan for now, and later on it will be a virtual wallet. Sean wants to know, will you be able to use the app to receive remittances or any income from the US?
That will happen in the first instance. We are focusing on the micro-lending space initially. But I mean, I think for us, as the product evolves, as we evolve as a business and grow, I think the sky's the limit. I think once you get into the space of being, and what we're doing right now, in becoming 100% digital lending agency, the sky's the limit. I think if you want to think of where we'd love to get to, maybe in our evolution, just think SoftBank in South America, where that's totally digital, but that's a bank and that's a banking license. But right now we're operating under the microcredit regulations, as we're an approved microlender under the Bank of Jamaica.
Couple people asking, what's the interest rate?
So we are competitive within this space, and it also depends on that same credit score. What we saw is that there were a lot
within the micro-lending space?
Within the micro-lending space, yes, it is. It is within the micro-lending space. Again, it's a fully unsecured loan. It is done within 10 minutes, and it's for a lot of people who have no credit history. So you're going to start to build that credit history, and the rate would then therefore be in line with what sort of credit score that you have within the market. But it
So
is
what's the
competitive for
range?
the.
Give us a range.
My belief is on the Jamaica side, because again, I'm looking at it, I think it's between 40 to 45% per annum.
Okay. Well, we all know microloans come with higher risk and therefore higher interest rates. Marvin wants to know, how will the data sharing between those three institutions happen? Is there a new form I need to fill out to allow for that data sharing?
Excellent question, and it also comes back to also confidentiality, right? So once we get it, it starts off right now where we will send an invitation to flow clients. That invitation is the flow client giving us permission to, one, use credit data, two, use their flow data, and then based on that approval, bringing it into the system. So it is going to be a share of both the credit data and the flow data based on approvals from the client. So we're also making sure that we're compliant with the Jamaica, the new act passed with respect to customer confidentiality, so that it is based on an approval from the client, and then we pull the information that's used to make the credit decisions.
Limitless podcasts. When is the app coming to iOS users?
Okay, it's not coming this year. It will probably be released, I'd say, sometime next year. We're still working through with iOS in terms of how we get the approvals on that. And our team at MyNHub are busy really pushing through that. But I think maybe at the next evolution of the app in terms of additional features, that may come in time. But it's a focus area of ours. Our team want to make sure that we get it on iOS. Just at right now, in terms of the percentage of customers, especially in the micro lending space, the majority of them sit on Android.
Question from Sean. What happens if I have no account with Flow and I have no credit history? How does that work?
So at this point in time, if you're not on either the Flow account or the credit history, you won't get an invitation. So how we're launching it at this point in time is going to be via invitation phase. The next rounds would be then applications taken from clients, but we still need to have some form of information in order to make a credit decision. So my encouragement would then be, if you don't have credit history, then get a Flow account and start to build so that you can get that invitation. Because right now it is going to be based on a combination of Flow or credit history with a credit bureau, or combination of both.
Question from Marvin. How is the loan payback done?
So loan payback is done. Again, we try to ensure that the client convenience is upfront. You can send the money in via ACH, or you can visit any of the any Jamaica, well, of course, GMB money transfer, and there's just help me with the name of the entity.
I think it's Bill Express.
Bill Express, exactly. You can visit any Bill Express location or online and make payments. So via Bill Express online or at their offices, at any GMB money transfer as well, or via a transfer into MYNE LEND.
So is this launching in Jamaica first, or Jamaica only, or is it in other territories too?
We are launching in Jamaica first. We are looking at other Latin American markets, but also other Caribbean markets as well. I think what we want to do is make sure this becomes a staple for the region for lending. I mean, I know Elson spoke about interest rates. We still are tweaking that, but we are going to be in the sweet spot between what we believe is the market and what our customers can afford.
Next question comes from Toussaint, who wants to know, what is the competitive differentiator of MYNE LEND from another microfinance institution?
Wow, I would say everything. The fact that one, we can use non-traditional data to make a credit decision. I generally don't believe that there's anyone in the Caribbean that's doing that now. And definitely any of the existing micro credit institutions. the turnaround time within 10 minutes, a decision, the fact that your funds will be made available to you immediately once the loan is approved, the fact that that's going to be placed into a Visa-enabled wallet that you can tap and pay or cash out or use anywhere Visa is accepted. The joint venture really allows us to create a product that we think is second to none in the region. And as pointed out before, we're hoping that it really makes a very, very loud splash as we expand.
I'm glad
there's absolutely no need for you to go into any brick and mortar. That is the most convenient thing ever. You don't have to go into anywhere to write on a form, do a wet signature, all of these things. Everything is done through the app right on your phone.
Including the disbursement. So walk me through how that part works, right? So you get the money on your phone and it's a digital Visa card, you said, right? So is it that I'm just going to be tapping my phone at point of sale machines? Like how do I use it? How do I use the cash? Can I withdraw cash? How does that work?
Yeah, no, so absolutely. So again, however you want it to work, you now have the cash on an enabled digital card. And therefore, anywhere Visa is accepted, you can use that card. So you can tap, you can use it online. But if you wanted to cash out, you can visit any JMMB money transfer location, for which there are literally hundreds in Jamaica, and cash out if you wanted to take it as cash. But for us, the value of having this wallet is that you don't need to take out the cash. You can if you want, but you don't have to. You can use it again in any way that you would use a Visa-enabled card.
So I would be tapping my phone.
You would be tapping
my phone.
You would be tapping your phone, yeah.
Okay.
If you don't want to cash out. I
didn't know that tech was here in Jamaica. So the regular point of sale machines can accept that form of payment?
As long as the point of sale machine can take tap, it will work right on it. And believe me,
cards, it can take the phone.
Yeah, man. And because of the security of the app itself, it's not like, for instance, you pass your phone against a point of sale that it will just take out money. No, each transaction you make, you put in your PIN, and then you tap, and then it will make the transaction complete.
Ah, okay. Philip wants to know: is the aim to bring the unbanked into the formal banking arena?
I think that's the definition of financial inclusion, right? It's to allow the unbanked the opportunity to come into the formal banking arena. What we have found is that there's a large percentage of the unbanked is left unbanked simply because they don't have the opportunity to come in, whether it be they don't have a job that has specific cash flows coming in from a salary. They haven't had that first loan from a traditional bank. So the short answer is yes. It's a door that opens that allows the unbanked and the underbanked to come in and benefit from everything else that they can benefit from by having a banking relationship and having credit history and everything that goes with expansion and as you say, making money.
Marvin wants to know, what's the maximum lending amount?
I think the maximum limit is $150,000.
Yeah, correct.
So almost $1,000 US.
Almost $1,000. So Marvin can apply and deal with his own personal partner, if you understand. If you remember partner from what we have in Jamaica, right? You don't have the worries of anybody or anybody running out with a draw. You can get a loan from us and make your payments as you so desire.
Yep.
Harold's question is, will there be referrals done by MYNE Lend to JMMB for other loan instruments?
At this point in time, there's nothing formal in place. So MYNE Lend has its structure. It's a joint venture as a separate entity. So there isn't any referrals. But absolutely, in the future, there would be some sort of cross-sell. We believe some sort of cross-sell between the entity that would allow for moving from an unsecured loan to larger unsecured loan to secured loans, car loans, mortgages, and so on. And that's what, again, financial inclusion is about. That once you build that credit history, it's a wide open door.
And comment here coming from D, who says the merchants seem very reluctant to allow tapping via phone. Have you observed that?
I wouldn't say so. I think many persons want you to put in a pin, but it's all dependent on the account that you have and how you set up your access. Some cards you can just tap and go, right? Some cards you have to tap and then put in your pin. Otherwise, for this, it's so secure from the perspective that all you have to do is make sure when you're doing the transaction, you agree to do the transaction, you put in your pin, you tap, and it deactivates it right after the transaction is complete, so that there's no openness for any fraud or anything like that.
And what, sorry, and what we expect as well is there will be that demand push, right? So as we start to expand and we reach more and more customers have a wallet that requires tap and pay, we believe the merchants will fall in line. I mean, merchants want to sell. And it's that reason why we also team the micro lending side of the business with the tap and pay, so that we're empowering clients with their phone, customers with their phones, with funds in it. And if you are a merchant are not enabling tap and pay, then you're losing out to another merchant who does, because we now have Jamaicans who have microloans on their phone that they can use. So we believe it will drive that usage up further as we start to expand.
So one thing that I noticed though, every time we talk about digital wallets, cashless transactions on the show, yes, you have your early adopters and your people who are gung-ho, people like me. I love the convenience, but we always get a lot of negative comments. Like a lot of Jamaicans are still very skeptical of anything cashless. They want money in their hand. How do you overcome that reluctance of Jamaicans, especially given the demographic that I assume you're going to be targeting for microloans?
I think one of the things is that, and as we've seen wallets that have come and go in the past, one of the biggest challenges has been the funding of the accounts. Yeah. I think we solved that immediately with the fact that this is a micro lending app. The other challenge that many of these kind of apps would have faced is the fact that there wasn't a formal ecosystem that was out there in terms of merchants. This relies on the existing merchants that exist right across the length and breadth of Jamaica. All they need, and most point-of-sale machines have now been in tune to take tap transactions. So it opens up the world to anyone who has taken on a loan from us.
Yeah, and as well, just building on that, what we've seen, if you look at how this would have grown in, for example, in India with Paytm and so on, is you're absolutely right. There will be the early adopters that are happy to use that digital wallet, but the vast majority, and not just Jamaica, throughout the Caribbean, there is that reluctance to go cashless. Two things. One, because we are funding the wallet, it means then the first demand comes from, I need a loan, and that's going to be the push, right? So the loan goes on the card, and you now have the card. You have the ability, if you choose, to cash out. But what we expect to happen, very similar to what we would have seen in India and across in Asia, is that as these late adopters come on board with that loan and they realize, listen, there's no real reason for me to cash out. I get the first loan, maybe I cash out the first loan, but the second time around, it was inconvenient. I don't need to do it. I can leave it in the wallet. And to me, that's where the adoption really starts to pick up, when people start to become comfortable with the fact that I have a digital wallet and I don't need to cash out. So we've done the ability to say, hey, we're going to fund it to the loan. And two, we've created the ecosystem for you to cash out. But more than likely, you'd realize that it's more convenient not to cash out, to keep it on the card and spend it at anywhere that full visa system is open and to the population.
Last question comes from Tamika, who wants to know what the requirements are for the loan.
So Tamika, just as we said before, as of now, it is going to be invitation only, or by invitation. I shouldn't say invitation only. So if you are a Flow customer, look out for that text message where we'll be inviting you to take a MYNE LEND loan, and you check the box and download the app and move forward. The next step is, once we have that up and running and we have the invitations done, we open it up for an application to come in, and the application simply would be, Tamika, to complete a very short application form. Your name, your address, where you work, how much you earn, traditional stuff. But it will be relatively quick. Yeah, of course, ID information, exactly. And of course, from a security standpoint, we have some bio data review on using your phone, using the technology, and then with that, quick underwriting and quick approval. So first stage, invitation, second stage, application.
As you mentioned, security. What security measures do you have in place? Because you will be collecting some sensitive information.
And again, I think it also comes back to who are the partners behind it. So the partners behind this business already collect very confidential information. Flow does, JMMB does, and that partnership allows us to understand the importance of that confidentiality. So we've taken the knowledge and the seriousness of confidential information that we both have in the various sectors that we operate, and then use technology with things like tokenization on the card, using biodata security channels to get through to your phone, and inculcated that into the app. So absolutely, we understand the importance of it. We have been through our history of company, as who we are as companies, been very, very careful in ensuring confidential information remains confidential, and this will be no different.
I know I said last question, but last one, no, coming from Harold. No, not Harold, sorry, Marvin. Do you need internet connection to use the tap to pay?
You would have to be connected and online on your mobile phone. You'd have to have data to do that, definitely.
All right. Well, thank you so much. So a couple people, see, the questions keep coming in. Okay. Last.
We can take a few last.
It's a security question. No more after this, we're done. But this is a good one. Des, how are invitees protected from phishing?
So as indicated, it is by invitation, and if the invitation is coming from Flow through the MYNE LEND app, anything that has to be done via the MYNE LEND app. And therefore, anything that's being requested from you, please know that we won't ask you for information via text message or via WhatsApp. It's an invitation to download the MYNE LEND app and taking it through the MYNE LEND app security. So that's what, through our marketing and advertising, we will be ensuring that clients are aware of that. And we are going to engage on a marketing education campaign so that potential clients understand how we will be approaching you for that invitation and what you should look for in moving forward with a MYNE LEND loan.
All right. Well, thank you, Elson. Thank you, Stephen.
Welcome.
Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
And it is time for our poll question of the evening, which is also on FinTech, on digital payments. So you may have heard the news that Scotiabank is courting Apple Pay and Samsung Pay. And it seemed that there was a lot of excitement over it in the past week. Although I did ask the question, how come people are excited about this and they weren't excited about some other local products? So with that in mind, will you be using Apple Pay or Samsung Pay if and when it comes to Jamaica? Let me know in the comments. You can also take this poll on the community tab of our YouTube channel or over on Twitter. So here are your options. A, yes, can't wait. B, no, don't trust it. C, I'll wait to see if it's set up properly. Or D, other, can just leave a comment and let us know what you think. Would you use Apple or Samsung Pay if or when it is introduced to Jamaica? Take that poll question today. Leave your answers in the chat as well, and you can head on over to the community tab to answer those questions. Up next, we've got your market recap, and the analysts are standing by.
The JSE Combined Index was mostly flat last week. 122 stocks traded across the main and junior markets for the week ending Friday, September 13, 2024. 48 made gains, 61 lost value, and 13 stayed the same. 304 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, valued at $5 billion. Wisynco was the week's most traded stock. It lost 21 cents to open the week at $21. Indies Pharma traded at the second highest. The stock gained 5% to open Monday at $2.80. And Epley Caribbean Property Fund SCC rounded out last week's most traded with 16 million shares changing hands. The stock gained $7 to close the week at $46. The stock was also the week's third biggest gain, up 18%. Margaritaville Turks USD was the market's biggest gain, up 25%. Paramount Trading was the week's second biggest gain, up 21%. On the losing side now, MPC Caribbean Clean Energy USD was the week's biggest loser. The stock lost 21% to open Monday at 56 cents US. Cygnus Real Estate Financial was down 13%, and Edufocal lost 4 cents to close the week at 35 cents. Over on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, the composite index was flat last week. Massey was the most traded stock. The stock gained 10 cents to open Monday at $3.60 TT. Newly listed Solis Marketing was the biggest gain of the week. The stock started the week at $4 TT. And on the losing side, Trinidad and Tobago NGL fell 10% to open Monday at $4.50 TT. Over in the US, the Dow Jones gained 2% last week, the S&P 500 gained 3%, and the Nasdaq was up 5%. Motorists got a win at the pumps last week. Gas prices fell $3.06, and diesel prices were almost down $3.06. In foreign exchange, it took an average $158.56 Jamaican to purchase $1 last Friday. That's 19 cents more than the week before. Meanwhile, it took an average $117.07 Jamaican to purchase $1 Canadian. 1 British pound cost on average $207.71 Jamaican. And you could buy €1 for $177.79 Jamaican on average. Finally, on the crypto markets, Bitcoin prices were up 2% over the past 5 days, trading at $58,528 US on Monday, while Ethereum prices were mostly stable, trading at $2,357 US on Monday.
What? It's in the budget. 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 Download my free budgeting template at buildyourbudgets.com.
Let's get this money.
Disclaimer. This is not intended as financial advice. Please consult a licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions.
Welcome back. Let's see what some of your comments are so far. D says, JPS reports to credit reporting agencies. I didn't know that. Yes, they sure do. Because it's one of the payments, one of the organizations that accept payments. So JPS, Flow, Digicel, NWC, they sure do. Dr. Lithium says, unbanked/underbanked. Have a phone that supports NFC. So he's listing the criteria now. Have a phone that supports NFC. Have service on your phone. Only can borrow up to 150K. Interest rates at 40 to 45%. Need to be a Flow customer, but have some credit history elsewhere. What a target audience. So I guess what, Dr. Lithium, you're skeptical that there's going to be enough people to use it. Shells says digital wallet tapping transaction is single use. The real card info isn't even shared with the seller. No PIN required. Sellers don't need a new POS machine. Sean also expressing skepticism. He says, I'd love to know what financially responsible person is taking a loan with those interest rates. It baffles me that this is even a thing. Sean, it is a thing. It is a huge industry, as you can probably tell by all the microfinance institutions that are present in Jamaica. And there's new ones all the time. And also by how profitable they are doing. You might even own shares in some of these institutions. Dollar Financial, Access Financial, who else is listed? But yeah, it is very much a thing. And yeah, somebody who wants less than $150,000. Quartz is another one that does a lot of business lending to this very specific demographic. And bear in mind, 40 to 45% sounds high, but it's actually less than most credit cards. So there's that to consider as well with a specific repayment date. Not advocating for it either way. I'm just explaining the way of the world. This is how it is. It is a very lucrative and profitable industry. D says, credit card interest rate territory that. Marvin says, CWJ, you need to relist on the exchange so I can own a piece of that. And Island Craze wanted to know the name of the app. It's MYNE LEND, MYNE LEND. A little bit of a tongue twister to say. I know people are going to end up calling it MYNE LEND because it's hard to say that NE part. MYNE LEND, MYNE LEND, MYNE LEND. Say it 3 times fast. MYNE LEND. And then over on Instagram, we have a comment as well. This comes from Nay, who says, I can't wait to use Apple Pay. So Nay can't wait to use Apple Pay. I think I saw something from one of our other viewers as well, responding to the poll question. Where is it? I can't find it back now. So we'll just move into, if I find it, I'll mention it later, but let's just move into the analysts. Yes, here it is. Philip says, how you mean, down with the dark ages, Apple Pay to a ting? Okay, all right, we know which team you are. Team Apple for you, Phil. Team Samsung for me. Hey, let's introduce our analyst panel for this evening. Joining me is David Rose, business writer at the Jamaica Observer, and Clive Charlton, equities trader at JMMB. Welcome back, David and Clive.
Hi, Kalila.
Hey, Kalila. Thanks for having me again.
Awesome. So, David, we're going to start with you this evening because Wisynco has now become the 5th largest shareholder in Honey Bun. And when I heard this news, I was like, this makes sense. There are obvious synergies, but what does this mean for shareholders?
So just to clarify, Wisynco Group's parent company is a 5th largest shareholder in Honey Bun. So a listed company, the owner of the listed company. So that's the first major thing to highlight. But the reason why I mentioned this key point about, Wisynco's parent buying a stake in Honey Bun is because of the fact that we would have seen last Friday this major $3.9 billion trade for Wisynco shares. And, we saw a disclosure on Monday on the JSE that, effectively almost $12 billion worth of Wisynco shares were traded last week. And only that actually has that much shares of Wisynco, it's the Wisynco Group Caribbean Limited, the same parent company that bought these shares in Honey Bun. So if Wisynco Group Caribbean has all this liquidity and just took this initial stake in Honey Bun, what else are they going to do with that money in the market? Because we should also remember that Wisynco Group Caribbean, also owns a 30% stake in Worthy Park. And I'm not sure, if prior to the Wisynco listing that the 50% stake in Tradewind Citrus was moved over to, Wisynco Group Caribbean, but you kind of get your going Kalila, like these are big deals happening with Wisynco's parent company. And the listed company itself is also doing big moves.
So, all right. So as an investor now, what does this mean for me?
Well, it definitely means that for one, that there is a holding company that is looking to deploy more capital into different listed companies. And the thing about that is, if you're seeing a company like Wisynco's parent company, Wisynco Caribbean, taking a stake in your business, it obviously means that you're doing something right, and you're likely to have some sort of future growth that is likely going to be quite significant. Because, for context, Wisynco pays out about 1.5 billion in dividends each year. About 70% of those dividends goes to the parent company. So you can call it about 1.2 to 1.3 billion Jamaican dollars each year, right? If they just sold some shares recently, got a Wisynco Group Limited listed company, just was taking Honey Bun, what else are they going to buy? And that's the beauty of it. It's similar to thinking about even a MJE, whereby they take these stakes in these different listed companies and profit at a later date in the future. So we'd have seen, for example, in 2016-17 when MJE would have bought a stake in CPJ at $3, sold to AS Bryant at $10.50. Some persons are even able to sell at $24 back in February 2022, I believe, or around 2021, one of those two periods. But still, it's still a very impressive thing to take note of. In respect to the listed company now, Wisynco Group Limited, they just came off another high year. Record revenues, profitability was a little bit flat based on the fact that their additional expenses to meet their expansion needs have not caught up as yet with production, but Wisynco's production capacity has gone up by at least 40 to 50%. Now, if Wisynco Group was basically capped, meaning that they're producing at full capacity before the expansion, and they have 50% more capacity now, that runway for them is going to be much bigger and much better going forward, because the company in the future, it tends to actually have about 10% of its revenue coming from exports. So it currently stands less than 2% of Wisynco's revenues actually come from exports right now. So if they're able to easily get that to 10%, and they're doing about they're doing about probably $55 billion in sales right now annually. That's an extra $5 billion in revenue, and it does assume much better margins compared to the Jamaican business. Then you're talking about probably over $2 to $3 billion extra to the bottom line. And this is on top of the fact that the company is looking to add more warehousing space across Jamaica to further optimize its distribution network. Because when most persons think of Wisynco in terms of water, crown water, boom, those drinks that they manufacture, Wisynco is also a major distributor. So we have seen last year where Wisynco, got the distribution rights to distribute Jamaican Teas Limited's products. So Caribbean Dreams, Tetley, Wisynco now distributes those products. Creamy, Devon House Ice Cream, Coca-Cola, Häagen-Dazs, True Juice, Where the Park products, just so many different products you can think of under that one roof for Wisynco. So, you have this dual growth plan in the sense of looking to further grow that distribution network and presence, make themselves a one-stop shop, but also further grow their manufacturing portfolio of beverages that is just quite, in heavy demand. Because according to the executive chairman, William Mafudino, he pointed out this was the first summer where they were able to successfully meet the summer demand in probably the last 5 years.
Wow.
Now, if summer is already hot and you couldn't meet the demand before you expanded the capacity, and you're just waiting to finally meet it now with their 50% additional capacity now, that tells you that they really are going to be able to ramp up revenues and profitability going forward just off of that. And even Wisynco back in May had a job fair where they're looking to get 400 persons. They had about 1,000 persons show up, and they're taking the job fair by an extra day. And they're still looking for persons right now, particularly like, blow mold technicians and other specialized roles in the factory. But here's one company that, I'm sure many persons are glad actually decided to go public, because prior to 2017, Wisynco was private. Now public, you get to benefit and reap the rewards of their growth.
So Wisynco is on an aggressive growth path. But you did mention right at the beginning, David, that it's not Wisynco that's bought the stake in Honey Bun. It's Wisynco's parent company. So we won't be seeing the the impact of the Honey Bun shareholding on Wisynco that's listed on their balance
Correct.
sheet?
That's correct. But the thing is, we should also remember Wisynco Group Limited listed company also has a good amount of cash. So they can always go back to, HoneyBun CEO and say, hey, I want to buy some shares too. So any card is at play. But the truth of the matter is to see the parent company taking the positive step forward to acquire different positions in some listed companies is a positive outlook, because while it doesn't benefit immediately to shareholders, it does kind of give a direction as to where the Mahfoud family and principals look towards growth in Jamaica and good run businesses. Because remember, Wisynco Group also owned a 30% stake in JP Snacks Caribbean. They're back in profitability now and expanding again. So between the decisions of both the parent company and listed company, it's kind of good to look at where they're deciding to invest their money, because you don't know where their decisions, based on what they know, will lead in the future. But all in all, it's been a fun about almost 7 years to the date Wisynco being listed. And I'm sure shareholders who bought in the IPO are happy with the 166% unrealized capital gains before dividends.
Yeah, Javon says to think Wisynco came to market at $9 and is currently trading at twice its IPO price, or as you just said, 166%. Plus, they're one of the biggest producers and distributors.
So to clarify, the IPO price was $7.89. $7.89. I was actually bought in the IPO, so that's how I remember it.
That was the one that just missed me. So I started right after. I was supposed to start with Wisynco, got cold feet, didn't do it, and then I started at the next one. And well, I've told that story many times. So the play here, David, based on this new deal, is Honey Bun, because they would have just gotten a significant payout from Wisynco's parent company for these shares, and we're gonna assume that they're gonna be investing it in growth.
No. So just to clarify, Wisynco Group's parent company bought the shares from Michelle Chong, Honey Bun CEO. And just for context, Honey Bun themselves are also in their own expansion path, because Honey Bun just, acquired they just leased a 6,000 square foot facility in Angels, St. Catherine for their own expansion plans. So all of these little relationships kind of showing you that companies are growing, and some of these parties are putting their money where their mouth is to take advantage of the perceived growth that is coming in the future for some of these companies.
So Michelle got her cash out. Good for you, Michelle Chong. Get your money. Get your money, Michelle Chong. But yeah, so either way, the play is both Wisynco and Honey Bun, not necessarily because of this deal, but because both are on a substantial growth path.
Exactly. And in both instances, both of them have a good amount of capital and cash on hand to do a variety of things. They're just things that they can choose whether or not to do. Because in the case of Honey Bun, they can to grow exports more. Wisynco, they can to grow exports more, and they're both expanding themselves to meet that external demand, not necessarily local Jamaican demand alone, but external demand more so.
All right. Yes, Learn, Grow, Invest, 787. I do remember that number. 787 was the IPO price for Wisynco. Clive, let's talk about inflation. I said Statin just released the latest inflation numbers yesterday, I think it was.
Yes.
6.5%. So trending a little bit higher than we were before.
Yes.
Right outside of the target range, and the max of the range is 6%. So what does that mean for us, given monetary policy position from the BOJ, everything happening since Beryl, all that good and bad stuff?
Well, it's the job of the monetary authority to prevent runaway inflation. Some moderate amount of inflation is important, it helps in revaluing securities. So that is important. But post-Beryl, particularly, especially, of course, it is everybody's business to have their income, if we can put it that, to maintain the standard of living, and that is at threat post-Beryl. Our agricultural sector was decimated. A good part of our agricultural production point, they call that era the basket of agricultural basket of Jamaica. If you look at the CPI, agricultural food and produce makes up in excess of 30% of the CPI. So you can see the impact that that will have. In fact, just looking at our last Friday the 13th newspaper, and I urge your listeners to scan the newspaper. Very powerful and critical information is in there. And on page 3, the headline says, large supermarkets step up vegetable imports post-Beryl. Yeah? So it's a matter of supply, but it also helps to contain inflation somewhat. So there are several things happening in the economy. One, private sector companies are doing what they can, but the government also is doing what it can. In order to drive production, the government has somewhat eased its monetary, well, not the government, sorry, the monetary authorities has eased its monetary policy. One, in terms of open market operations, they have somewhat easing or slightly releasing more fund in the financial system, with the intention that that goes into the productive sector, to ease inflation and to ease shortages, right? So we hope it is directed that. There's going to be a lagged effect. And I think that that lagged effect caused by, one, the decimation of our agricultural sector, or a good part of our agricultural sector, and two, the resultant increase in energy cost. That has added a lot. Those two components are significant in the calculation of CPI, and those two have contributed a lot to the increase in the inflation rate. So I think BOJ, and of course by extension the government, and of course the productive sector, has interest in containing that. You can only see real growth in the economy when you contain inflation.
But we expected this spike, given what happened with Beryl, and given that there is a lag in the reporting of the numbers.
Yes, it was expected. It was expected, and there are other tools that are used, but the monetary authorities are using. One, open market operation, in order to drive the productive sector to increase supply in the marketplace. That's one. If you look also in the same newspaper, we spoke about micro lending agencies, and speaking about MYNE LEND. Yes, there's an article also. And I thought this to be interesting. It says the microloans market is now valued at 46 billion Jamaican dollars, and it saw 15 percentage point growth over the comparative period last year, 2023 to 2024. However, this sector is extremely small. It makes up just about 1.7% of GDP, and about 3.5% of the total value of the loans outstanding in the economy. The top 8 banking companies makes up about $1.3 trillion of loan balances. Wow. So it is still small, right? But it has outpaced the growth of the traditional lending institution. So there's great value there, and that is where we hope, and the releasing of the easing of the liquidity tightness by BOJ, they're hoping that now can also help, even at the micro level, in driving small businesses, especially farmers. They're releasing more loans and assistance to them to kind of ease the supply situation that we're facing.
So, for those who are saying nobody gonna be borrowing at those rates, Clive just proved you wrong.
Yes,
it is growing.
Yes, and remember the cash crops, which are crops that over a period of 3 to 6 months, the turnover, that is from plant to reaping. It's not like a tree, a mango tree or so, that is planted and takes several years to grow to maturity, or one of those, other cash crops. Those persons will, because they may not extend these loans in excess of a year, it may not be such a pressure on them. 40 percentage points annually, yes, but more than likely these persons will turn it over at the end of each cash crop cycle. So as you've rightly stated, our credit card that we pay monthly, we have an obligation to pay down on monthly, is burdensome, but doesn't seem that onerous on us, because of the fact that we constantly are paying on that balance hopefully reducing it somewhat or eliminating it totally. But there is a market for that. And it has been growing. Access Financial, we see quite a few. They said over 200 microfinance companies are in the economy. Over 60 to 80 have already registered with the Bank of Jamaica. Right? So this sector is growing and has a lot of capacity, and there's a need for them in the economy also. But there are quite a few areas in the economy that is not touched by the traditional banking sector.
Right. D says micro lending is high risk, high reward. And another point as well. So Sean wants to know, where do you get those numbers? I want to keep up with them too. Which article were you reading from?
If I can show this. This is the Friday's Financial Gleaner, right? And $46 billion payday. This is it. This is the article. It's on page 2. And let me quickly show you some piece of interesting article. Large supermarkets here. Large supermarkets, step up import, post barrel, very critical. You just scan these and then they can come back to your show and ask questions and get clarification. This micro lending, 46 billion, really interesting article. But here's some good pieces of information that is important, especially in discussion like this. International, where's our money going? When BOJ eases liquidity, where is it going? This is published by the Statin and the PIOJ, International Merchandise Trade. And it shows where our imports goes. And you can see, interestingly, that looking at this, our import bill January 2024 to April 2024 substantially comprised of raw material and intermediate goods, fuel and lubricant, capital goods, and transport equipment. Consumer good is third, yes, but of the capital goods is just perhaps about 15% of the value of our import now. Consumer goods. So I think the economy is more focused now on the productive sector. And I think the incentives offered by the government and also through our monetary policy is kind of trying to drive that area more to ease the inflation rate. So yes, post-barrel inflation, we see it. As a matter of fact, hopefully, that figure, 6.5 percentage point inflation rate CPI, August, hopefully by September, October, it may be reduced if fuel in particular, energy, if we see that either stability in that, we may see that inflation rate go down. Interestingly also, BOJ intervenes, the monetary authority intervenes in the economy, in stabilizing the economy and inflation through the FX market. So every now and then they'll put FX, foreign exchange, in the marketplace to satisfy demand so as not to drive the rate, the Jamaican dollar value down. So I think JPS stated that a part of the reduction in our bill this month incoming will be as a result of a revaluation of the FX portion.
They switch back to their regular fuel source. So during burial, they had to use a more expensive fuel source, and now they're switching back.
Exactly. So, and that would impact FX, that would impact fuel and cost. So you can, by just looking at this particular report, and you can just come back to your program, ask us some questions. You can have an idea of what could contribute to inflation and where significant expenditure is going, what particular part of the economy we may see growth based on where there's heavy importation. And therefore, it might give you an idea of what particular securities on the market you should put your investable dollar in. Another interesting article to look at is the Producer Price Index. All of these are published in our newspaper, particularly the Sunday papers that has the financial news, the Wednesday paper. So just remember, Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. Remember those days, right?
And Statin also publishes those lovely graphics on their IG page on social media.
Exactly. And also there's a nice piece of information. This is called the Jamaican Economic Statistics, printed in all the newspapers. You should have a look at that. Let me see if I can get it in front of your page. Jamaican Economic Statistics. And it has everything on it, from inflation rate, treasury bill rates, savings and loan, mortgage rates, inflation, monthly and annual, producer price index. Beautiful pieces of information in that. So have a look at that, particularly the Friday publications of both newspaper has all this information.
So James wanted to know which paper that was. It's the Gleaner, James, but Observer also carries similar news and information. Hence, our correspondent David is always on explaining what's going on in the news. And for those of you who were asking earlier about, what's the play for MYNE LEND, saying that you can't buy into CWJ because that's no longer listed. Well, JMMB is a partner in the joint venture. So if you want exposure to what's coming up with MYNE LEND, JMMB is always there as an option. David, you look like you want to jump in bad.
Sorry, I was going to say JMMB for one is a 50.5% partner in that venture. So they're the majority shareholder in it. That's the first thing. The second thing is Clive made some very good points. The newspaper, it's a very valuable resource. Although you might read the stories online, to actually look at the physical print and see some of the ads or other content, it does educate you a lot.
It sure does.
So
that's why I do the e-paper.
It pays for itself. It pays for itself.
I do the e-paper subscription because you're absolutely right. Sometimes the ads that come beside the article are just as informative as the article. So online, you're not going to see that statin graphic unless you do e-paper.
Right, exactly.
And those types of things. Let me take a couple comments before we go. D says, Clive proving the usefulness of traditional media. Shell said, Clive, the teacher. Everybody Applebee teacher, no. Yeah. All right. So we're going to leave it there. Monroe says, so wonderful. Thank you, Clive. And so thanks to both Clive and David in this segment. We appreciate you guys as usual. We'll take our final break. You always have one last thing when I'm wrapping up, David, every single time without fail. Make it quick. Tomorrow, what's the last thing?
Tomorrow is a big day. What big day is it? The U.S. Federal Reserve is going to announce its monetary policy reduction.
Oh.
But what is it going to be? 25 basis points? 50 basis points? 75? That's going to be the big news of tomorrow. And for those who follow Jamaica, September 30th is the BOJ's next monetary policy decision. So tomorrow is going to be a big, spectacular day on the U.S. stock market or just for the global markets, because if it's 25, 50, everybody's happy. 75, we're on the moon.
Mm-hmm. And can I say something also? In this same publication by the Statin, it published in both newspaper, Observer also, right? It will look at our trading partners, the top 5 import trading partners in US millions of dollars, right? And it shows that the United States, about 65% of our imports come from the US. So you can see how important the US dollar is to our economy. And therefore, any policy, their federal policy, Fed rate is important to us also, right? A reduction in that will ease the pressure off ours. A reduction in interest rate there means that persons may shift or maintain US dollar in our economy, hard currency in our economy, and make it more available here then, and therefore reduce the demand or the pressure on the Jamaican dollar running down that US dollar.
D says, I think David Ago says national holiday.
We're not in St. Lucia. It's not Julian Alfred Day.
All right, let's take our final break and come back with more comments.
This segment of Taking Stock, The Analyst, was brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
Money is like a child at an amusement park. If you don't give it some rules and tell it exactly where to go and what to do, it's going to get lost and in trouble. If you've ever found yourself wondering, where did all my money go? Build Your Budget is for you. If you've been trying to plan for a big purchase but feel like you will never get there, Build Your Budget is for you. If you need a flexible spending plan, Build Your Budget is for you. And if you're spending more than you earn, Build Your Budget is for you.
And ever since downloading that budget and actually applying it, I paid off my credit card, I paid off my tuition loan, and I bought my first pair of Tory Burch.
Hey, in
and
the
it was
budget.
in the budget.
How important it is to budget, how important it is to plan your money, to tell your money where to go, and how important it is to hold yourself accountable.
So, are you ready to accept this mission? Click the button below to get started. Welcome back. So time for final comments, and let's start with a clarification coming from MYNE LEND. So MYNE LEND is clarifying their interest rates, and they're saying that it's 3.3 to 4% per month on the reducing balance. So what he gave earlier was the annual effective rate. So if you've ever taken a loan before, if you look at your credit cards, you know you have the monthly rate, you have the annual. The annual is just cumulative from the monthly, so times the 3 times 12, 36, 4 times 12, 48. So it's 3.3% to 4% per month. That's the interest rate. On the reducing balance, that part is also important. So when you hear 40-odd%, that is the annual interest rate. All right, further comments. Let's see who we have here. Roswell says, I will hold US dollars in deposits like gold. I have to be translating what you guys write sometimes. Dr. Lithium says Jamaica is going to be moving from sorry, card machine down to sorry, tap not working real soon. Oh boy. D says, and NCB getting into the microfinance space with the digital loans. Philip says that NIF purchase of Wisynco shares is also a big deal. Raquel reminding you guys to like, share, and subscribe. I can always count on you, Raquel. You never forget to remind people. You remember more than me to remind people to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Gary says Apple Pay is so convenient in the United States. It's about time it reaches Jamaica. Then we have Dwayne, who says he is Team Samsung. A lot of you weighing in on the Federal Reserve's decision tomorrow. So SC says he thinks, or she thinks it's going to be 25 basis points. That's on the low end. Monroe says we're hoping for 25 basis points or 0.25%. Learn, Grow, Invest is going aggressive, saying 75. Garth is in the middle at 50. Sean says his guess is 75. Monroe said 75 is too much too quick. And what will I wager? I'm going to go on the aggressive side and say 75 based on what that pressure was last month. I don't think it will be less than 50. 50 to 75 is my prediction, but we will see tomorrow. We'll see what it is tomorrow. Philip says 50 for sure. We will see. Let's see. Exciting times ahead indeed. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Yet another week, and reminding you as well, for those who want to create their money plan, go to buildyourbudgets.com. That's buildyourbudgets with an S at the end.com. There is a free budgeting template there. You can also check out moneymissionja.com. So budgeting is one of our 2 foundation courses in Money Mission. So Build Your Budget is mission 1. Next month, we're going to be launching mission 2, which is debt do-over. So you want to get your financial plan in order. You want to get your debt management plan in order. And then we move on to our wealth building courses. So get on board with mission 1. Start creating your financial plan now. Plan out your financial year. Then get to your debt management strategy. And then we start building wealth. So go to moneymissionja.com or go to buildyourbudgets with an S at the end.com to get the free budgeting template. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the newsletter so you don't miss any updates. That is at KalilaReynolds.com/newsletter, or you can go to getmoneynews.com. See, I made it easier for you. I have like 1 million domains now. Everything I can think of, I just buy the domain name. Like I kind of went on a domain shopping spree. But that's it for this week. Make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with a friend, let everybody know what is going on here with Taking Stock, because we want to help people learn more about money so that we can get this money together. We want to make it sexy to talk about money. We want to make it cool to be an investor. And we want these to be the conversations that we are having amongst ourselves, in our group chats, on the corner, wherever you have conversations with your peers. Also remember, the Money Dictionary is out now. That's another free download. Go to themoneydictionary.com for your set of investing terms. If you always wondered what we're talking about on this show, you kind of tune in, listen with half a ears because you don't fully understand, get themoneydictionary.com. That will help you to understand. Turn on the post notifications so that you don't miss a beat. You know when everything drops. Follow me all over social media, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, of course, here on YouTube. These are my most active platforms. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. Look for the verified pages because there are lots of scammers out there. I will not ever DM you asking you to invest in crypto or to send me money for anything. I don't do business like that. If you see those pages, just report them and block them immediately. That's our show for this week. Thanks so much for joining. Thanks to our hardworking production team led tonight by the able, the wonderful Sachelle Williams. I will see you again next week.
Let's get this money.